Today I fucked up by not turning my location off while I was being a hoe. This actually happened Monday, 3/2, and while I'm still sorting through my emotions, I've processed enough to get it out. Let me set the scenario for you. First, a couple weeks ago a young man I went to high school with slid into my DMs. We connected over some common interests we had. We talked about our careers. There was a lot of back and forth. I honestly didn't see it going anywhere until I'm assuming he worked up the nerve to invite me over to his house. Now, he still lives in my hometown. Moved a couple years back to a town about an hour away. I wasn't entirely interested in going to see him at first, so I turned him down a couple's times thinking eventually he would give up and it would fizzle out. More time passed and we kept talking occasionally. Every once and a while he would ask me to come over. Eventually, I made plans to visit my parents, who live in the same town. I figured what the hell, why not? And went to his house the night before I planned on seeing my parents. It was a nice time. We hung out, watched a movie, had snacks, one thing led to another and we did the deed. It was a good time. So the next morning as I'm making my way out to see my parents, he asks me if I wanted to come back that night. Again, I figured what the hell, why not? I didn't have an obligations to hurry back home to, so I agreed. Went to see my parents. We hung out, we ate, we had a good time. Before I forget, here's the thing about my parents. They are devoutly religious. My dad is actually a pastor. My parents never gave me a proper sex talk. Abstinence is the only way and God sees all is what I got. Much less, did my parents ever think I would have a sex life. Thankfully, I had other resources in my life that helped educate me on the subject. And now as a confident 25-year-old woman, I keep my sex life separate from my family because ultimately I never wanted to disappoint them. More dramatically, did not want anyone to fear for my soul. So that evening I say goodbye to my parents and head back to this young man's house. Again, we had a good time. It was very chill. Didn't even have sex. We just enjoyed each other company. Eventually we fell asleep. So before bed I double check to make sure my location services are turned off in case for some reason a family member decides to get nosy. I leave my phone on the other side of the room and we go to bed. Sometime around 8:30 the following morning, I'm woken up by a loud banging on the door. The guy gets up to open the door. My eyes are still closed and I hear, "Where's my daughter?" My eyes fly open and I see both of my parents standing in the doorway. I blink at them for a couple seconds because I've had this dream before. There's no way this could actually be happening. I see my dad arguing with the guy whose bed I've been in. I hear my dad threatening to call the police and I snap out of it. Turn and my mom is crying and yelling at me to get dressed. I don't really remember, but somehow I'm up and I'm grabbing my things and telling everybody to shut up and calm down. I'm pretty sure I was still in shock when I got into my car because my dad told me to follow him home and I just did it. Back at my parents' house, my mom is still crying. My dad is yelling at me about STDs, protection, unwanted pregnancy, God, etc. My mom, still crying, is asking me why I would do this. She keeps asking if I'm lonely and wanted a man and that there is a man out there that God has selected for me. And I know at this point, most of you are thinking you're a grown-ass women. And believe me, the irony is not lost on me. My father, having the sex talk that we should have had when I was a teenager. My mother, somehow making this about how much this is going to affect her and sobbing like I died. As much as it all angered me and still angers me, I realized there was no effective conversation to be had. I still receive paragraphs worth his text messages from my mom saying how she's praying for me and hope I'll turn away from my life of sin. She's slut-shamed me and said no one is ever going to respect me. She's tried to guilt me by saying I've lied to deceived my whole family. At some point I just stopped responding. I stopped reading. I'm wrapping this up. I let them ask me whatever questions they needed to ask me. I told them I was safe and I've taken care of myself for the past 8 years since I started having sex. When they got done, my dad asked me what I planned on doing next. Grabbed my things, stood up and said I'm going home. Got in my car and left. Oh, so here's how I got caught. My sleepy brain turned the locations services off for a different app, not the one that allows people to see where I am. And I still am unsure of all the details of how it escalated that far. Honestly, I don't care enough to figure it out. Morning around 7 AM somebody in my family decided to ask how I was and where I was. Why? I don't have a fucking clue. But that lead to my parents asking all my siblings. Someone almost driving to my house to find me, and eventually, my parents tracking me down. Again, I don't completely understand the series of events that took place that lead to this overdramatic overreaction. So there it is. I guess the bright side is that I no longer have to feel like I'm two different people anymore. And lastly, I apologize to typos. I wrote this out on my phone and I tried to proofread it, but rereading all of this is cringy for me. Too long didn't read. My parents found out that I'm sexually active and now think I'm going to hell. Edit. I've been scrolling through comments and you guys are completely right that I should reach out to this poor guy. Or the young man, as some of you have pointed out repeatedly. Smiley face. It just felt right as the time. That's all I can say. I am going to reach out and apologize. Thank you all for reading, laughing, sharing your own stories, and leaving comments. Even the hateful ugly ones. Take care guys. 2 hearts. I'm just thinking of that poor guy who had random people pounding on his door crying and yelling they were going to call the cops on him for no apparent reason. Also, why is no one talking about that threat? What were they calling the cops for? Like, surely, the police would turn up and go, "Oh, you guys are threatening this innocent man on his property, you need to go away." I hear my dad threatening to call the police. Yeah, I would have already been threatening to call the police on a belligerent couple banging on my door and then barging in. Your 25-year-old daughter can answer her phone when you call from your vehicle, then she can get dressed in privacy or whatever. Don't comes up my door with insanity and expect me to enable it, ma and pops. Seriously. The only fuck up I see here is her going with her parents. It would have been nice if she had just stayed there and allowed her parents to learn a lesson by having them call the police and then learn that consensual sex is a totally legal activity. Never share location devices once, otherwise they'll wonder why you don't share them sometimes. Most of my family all share, but as a man in his 40s I've always refused, and by now they just accept that I'll tell them where I am when I choose to, not when they want to be nosy. Take control of your own privacy permanently, rather than opting out of being spied on occasionally. So what happened to the guy you hooked up with? Running for the hills or currently typing a "Today I fucked up by sleeping with this chick with cray-cray parents"? I'm sure I don't have to tell you this, but just so you know, you're not crazy. You did nothing wrong. Your religious helicopter parents are the problem element here. Just in case there was any doubt in your mind. I needed to hear that. Thank you. Today I fucked up by giving the middle finger to someone who honked at me on campus. So this literally happened like 30 minutes ago. I'm walking to my buddies on campus and as I am walking this car proceeds to honk at me. Usual, I flip them the bird and keep walking. Not even 30 seconds later my mother calls me and says, "What the hell Nick, you just flipped PFF your grandma." As it turns out my grandparents were in town visiting and they recognized me and honked to get my attention and the heat felt wave. Little did they know when someone honks at you in Cincinnati it usually is not for those intentions. As a truck driver I give the thumbs up. It means the same to me, but they can't call your boss and tell them you gave them a thumbs up. No goddamn cookies for you, sonny boy. Always better to ignore people than to interact with them. You didn't get shot at, I'd call it a success. Alternate title, Today I fucked up by fingering my grandma. Today I fucked up by writing official mails to people and not realizing my profile picture is literally me grabbing a friend's butt. So a couple of weeks ago, I finally set up my Apple ID. I also put up some random photo of myself. For whatever reason, I just picked the first image that popped up, which happened to be a shot of me grabbing one of the lads' bum. I had cropped said friend out of the picture to make it be of my face only, thinking nothing of it. Since then, I've been applying to graduate schools and a few institutes, trying to break into sciences/research. Only now has it come to my attention that Apple displays this picture in mails, too. Now, I was like, not a big deal, right? Fucking wrong. Apparently, it displays the full image, not the cropped one, but the full thing. I've been sending out fucking official mails with this thing for a couple of weeks now. I've been trying to get in contact with important people and universities for weeks. All this time giving these people a nice handy view of me groping this guy. Fucking fantastic way to kick off professional relations. This picture in question, friend's face blurred for obvious reasons. Too long didn't read, apply to graduate school and jobs via mail, giving off first impression of being friendly neighborhood butt groper. If it makes you feel better, years ago I used to have to send emails from my phone because of how busy work was getting and I had no idea it included the name I gave my iPhone. My emails were ended with kind regards, dash my name, followed by sent from Weasel Dick Enterprises iPhone. Edit, I didn't expect this to blow up so much but I'm so glad it did. I have been laughing so much over all of these comments, smiley face. A, we have a new applicant. B, really? What's he like? A, he's a real go-getter. A grab the opportunity kind of guy. If it makes you feel any better, I've worked in a university for the last 7 years and when I would be dealing with students, at least once a week I'd get contacted by somebody with totally unprofessional pictures used for their email. I stopped noticing after a while. Excuse me sir, could you reconsider the policy on this? Is there any way to submit a petition for variance? Yeah, it's possible. By the way, your email picture is you doing a keg stand with your pants off, you might want to change that. Unless, or even if, you send it to an iCloud email address it does not show this image. It is just for yourself, so you are fine. You can see it because your photo is in your contacts for yourself. Realtor day I fucked up will be tomorrow when Op says that he sent out apology emails to everybody detailing the inappropriate picture that he had never actually sent in the first place. Need to apply to proctology research centers. Good luck. I'm sure it'll all turn out good in the end.